I need a new intro. Hello, welcome to my channel. How to get away with murder. Now, let's talk about murder. You may recognize some things said in this video from Murder Tips. Murder Tips Part 2. There's Murder Tips Part 3. Murder Tips Part 4. Or you may not recognize any of those. In that case, welcome. Before we get started, just be aware that not all of this is realistic. So basically, if they don't work, it's not my fault. Without further ado, how to get away with murder. First off, before you commit murder, you're going to have to prepare. So I'll say this now before anyone ends up with their hands in buckets of water because their fingers hurt. Burning off your fingerprints is not effective. And sandpapering them doesn't work either. But better idea, cut off someone else's fingers and glue them to the end of yours. Now you'll be framing someone, and your fingerprints won't be at the crime scene. Alternately, you could just use gloves or super glue. But I think we agree which one sounds more fun. Now, when you commit a murder, you want to dress in like normal clothes. No one will think anything of it. And if you wear shoes that are too big for you, then the footprints at the crime scene won't fit your shoe size. In addition to that, if you wear a common brand of shoes like, I don't know, Nike, then it'll be harder to find you because a lot of people have that kind of shoe. Next up, we'll deal with alibi. Usually getting that is kind of hard because you can't be in two places at once. Or can you? Well, no, you can't, but you can make people think you are. You'll need to find someone who looks like you. Then you'll get them to agree to go to a restaurant. And when the police say, "Where were you that night?" you'll say, "Oh, I was at this restaurant." And the people who work at the restaurant will even back you up because they thought you were the person who looks like you. Of course, not everyone just has a lookalike. So option number 2, take some pictures with a trusted friend. And then have this friend post those pictures on Instagram at the same time that you're out killing people. And then everyone will just say, "Oh yeah, they were with a friend, they posted an Instagram picture." Now for the best part of committing murder, which is actually committing murder. Here's something. An injection of potassium chloride straight to the vein looks like a heart attack. Now put that injection somewhere where they'll never notice. Oh, like maybe their hair or in their mouth. And speaking of stabbing people with needles, this is a weird one. An injection of air in the blood can kill someone. Put it in the right place and the bubble will form inside their blood and somehow that kills them. Here's another one. If they have a gas stove, leave it on. Just break in their house, turn it on. And this one, if you stab them with a big, sharp ice, then the ice will melt and the police won't know what they were stabbed with. Of course, actually finding a big, sharp ice is another story. Okay, now you've killed someone. Likely, if you use the methods that I just listed, you probably won't even have to hide the body. But there will always be evidence to dispose of. You want to make sure there's no fingerprints. Apparently, pineapple juice removes them. And if you want to remove fingerprints a different way, try to use normal cleaning products. It's less suspicious. Of course, you always want to get rid of fingerprints, right? Get out of here. DNA overload. This is when you put so much DNA that they'll never be able to examine it all. Thing is, none of it's yours. You could go around chopping people's hands off and then rub them all over the wall. And that way, if you accidentally put your fingerprint on something, chances are they won't even notice it because there's so many. Now, I'd like to point out that if you are going to use plastic bags in disposing of any evidence, use more common plastic bags like Target and Walmart because no one will really think anything of that. Oh, and here's one I definitely didn't get from watching Criminal Minds. If people come to talk to you, you're not going to want to fit the profile. But of course you don't exactly know what the profile is going to be. So what if you look at the crime and become something of a profiler yourself? Just stand there and go, what could the FBI think about me based on this crime? So then when you come to talk to you, just don't act like the profile that you think they're gonna have. And if you can't manage to try to figure out your own profile, then just don't act like yourself, because it's quite likely that the profile's right. Now this one, I don't know exactly where in the video this would fit, so I'll just say it now. Before and after you commit the crime, you swap your license plate out with one of a similar car. Alright, now on to hiding the body, which I have so many tips on. Did you know bodies decompose faster in heat? If you're going to bury the body, it's probably the best idea to cut off the recognizable body parts. Wherever you bury it, do not bury it in your yard. If you buried it in a graveyard, there's already so many dead bodies there. If you're worried about leaving like a bump in the soil and you want to make it smaller, bury it vertically. How about this? Bury it like 6 feet down like anyone would. Put like 2 feet of dirt on top of it. Then add like a dead animal. So when the dogs come out looking for the dead body, they'll just dig up the animal and think that's all that was there. This one is probably one of my favorites. You cut it up into tiny little cubes like this big. And then you hide those cubes, throw them in the trash, bury them, bake them into food, hide them all over the place. Hundreds of tiny cubes in hundreds of different places. When you go hunting, if you get a deer, you have to take out specific organs that are the ones that you don't eat. You always leave those organs just on the floor, in the ground, because the next day you'll come back and they'll be gone. Why? Because an animal ate them. So why would that not work the same way with the human body? You could even cover it in like cow blood or something. Feed it to sharks. Feed it to pigs. They eat everything except the nails and teeth, I believe. Pigs, the solution to everything. Cannibalism. Human meat tastes like veal or pork. Do with that information what you will. I could really go for a smoothie right now. Good idea. Make smoothies. Just a little bit of human meat in them every time. No one will even notice and no one will bother to ask. You could even drink it yourself. If you puncture the lungs, the body will be more likely to sink. Dissolve it in acetone, which also happens to be my favorite flammable liquid. How about a vacation house? Do you know someone who owns one? Do you own one yourself? People will rent out the house, go to the house the day after the renters leave, put the body in, and then, you know, pretend you just found it, call the cops, self-report. How did that get there? What? Must have been the renters. Silly renters always leaving things in the house. Like any normal person, you have neighbors. Put it in their mailbox. If you kill a person in their house, just rewire their outlet incorrectly. It'll cause a fire and everyone will just think it was an electrical fire. And lastly, body burning does not smell very good. So if you're going to burn a body, might as well burn down the entire state of Ohio while you're at it. That's all I got. And now that you know I'm aware of how to get away with murder, you might as well like, subscribe, and comment, because you wouldn't want anything to happen, you know? Okay, bye.